Before we begin, make sure you're somewhere quiet. Turn off the lights. Put on your headphones. Because the stories you're about to hear aren't just scary. These are the kinds of experiences people don't talk about. If you enjoy true horror stories, unsettling encounters, and disturbing events that happen to real people, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Now, let's begin. The ad was simple. Too simple. Free couch. Must pick up. No delivery. First come, first served. No photos. No measurements. No explanation. I probably would have ignored it if I wasn't desperate. I'd just moved into a one-bedroom apartment after a breakup that left me with almost nothing. No couch, no bed frame, barely any furniture at all. I was sleeping on a mattress on the floor and eating dinner standing up. So when I saw that ad on Craigslist at 11:43 p.m., it felt like luck. I messaged immediately. Within seconds, I got a reply. Still available. Pick up tonight only. That should have been the first red flag. Who gives away furniture at midnight? I asked for the address. He sent it without hesitation. No small talk. No questions. Just an address on the edge of town, in an industrial area I didn't recognize. I told myself I'd bring a friend. I didn't. The building was an old warehouse converted into storage units and cheap studios. The parking lot was mostly empty, lit by a few flickering floodlights that made everything look washed out and unreal. I parked near the entrance and texted him that I'd arrived. Unit 3B. Doors open. It wasn't. I stood there for a moment, debating whether to leave. Then I heard something inside. A dragging sound. Slow. Heavy. Like furniture being pulled across concrete. I knocked. The sound stopped. A few seconds passed. Then the door opened just enough for a man's face to appear. He was older than I expected. Late 40s, maybe. Thin. Pale. Smiled too quickly. Couch is inside, he said. Didn't think you'd actually come. I laughed nervously and stepped in. The unit was dim, lit by a single hanging bulb. The couch was against the far wall. It looked fine. Old, but usable. What didn't look fine was everything else. The walls were bare except for faint rectangular outlines, like pictures had been removed recently. The floor had scuff marks in odd directions, not just back and forth, but circular. Like things had been dragged around repeatedly. "Where you moving it to?" he asked. "Just down the road," I said. He nodded, watching me too closely. "No truck?" "No, just my car." He smiled again. "That'll be tricky." I tried to lift the couch. It was heavier than it looked. Way heavier. As I adjusted my grip, I noticed something tucked between the cushions. A phone. Not old. Not broken. Powered off. I froze. Before I could say anything, he spoke. "Don't turn that on." I looked up. His smile was gone. "That's not part of the deal." My heart started pounding. "I think I'll pass," I said quickly, stepping away. "Sorry." He didn't move. "That's not how this works," he said calmly. The door behind me clicked. Not slammed. Clicked. Locked. I backed up slowly. "You said first come, first served," he continued. "You came." I tried the handle. Locked. My mind raced through options that didn't exist. Then he sighed. "Relax. I just don't like people wasting my time." He reached into his pocket. Pulled out a key. Unlocked the door. Stepped aside. "Go," he said. I didn't hesitate. I ran to my car and drove without looking back. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 3 a.m., curiosity got the better of me. I checked Craigslist. The ad was gone. But there was a new one. Posted 10 minutes earlier. Free dining table. Must pick up. No delivery. Same wording. Different item. I stared at the screen, stomach twisting. Then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You forgot your phone. I threw my phone across the room. The next morning, I went to the police. They checked the address. The unit existed. The man did not. No lease. No records. No reports. But 2 weeks later, a woman in my city went missing after responding to a Craigslist ad. Free dresser. Pick up only. I never use Craigslist anymore. And I never respond to ads without photos. Because sometimes, the item isn't what's being offered. Sometimes, you are. When I answered the Craigslist ad, the first thing I noticed was how normal it sounded. Room for rent in quiet house. Fully furnished. No couples. No pets. Month to month. That was it. No weird requirements. No personal questions. No urgency. I was 26, broke, and living out of my car after a lease fell through. I needed something fast, cheap, and temporary. This checked all the boxes. The guy who replied introduced himself as Daniel. He was polite. Professional. Used full sentences. Didn't overshare. We scheduled a viewing for the next afternoon. The house was in a residential neighborhood, older but well kept. White siding. Clean yard. Nothing that set off alarm bells. Daniel answered the door immediately. Early 30s. Clean cut. Calm. He showed me around without hovering. The kitchen was spotless. The living room looked barely used. No clutter. No personal photos. The room was upstairs, at the end of the hallway. It was already furnished. Bed. Desk. Dresser. Nightstand. Everything neutral. Everything generic. Like a hotel room pretending to be a bedroom. You can move your own stuff in if you want, Daniel said. Or leave it. Most people leave it. That sentence stuck with me. Most people. I didn't ask how many most was. The rent was cheap. The lease was simple. Month to month. I moved in that night. The first week felt fine. Daniel worked odd hours, but we rarely crossed paths. He was quiet. Clean. Never brought guests over. Never asked questions. Too perfect. The first thing I noticed was the door. My bedroom door didn't lock. Not broken, just no lock at all. I asked Daniel about it casually. Oh, he said. Yeah, I took it out. Old house. Locks jam sometimes. That made no sense. But I let it go. The second thing I noticed was the sound. At night, when everything was quiet, I could hear a faint humming. Low. Electrical. Coming from inside the walls. I assumed it was old wiring. Then I found the vent. It was positioned strangely, lower than usual, angled directly toward the bed. I knelt down one afternoon and looked inside. Too dark to see anything. I shrugged it off. The first real red flag came when Daniel asked me a question he shouldn't have known the answer to. How did your interview go? He asked one morning. I froze. I didn't tell you about that. He smiled faintly. You mentioned it on the phone. I hadn't. I barely spoke to him. But again, I doubted myself. That's the thing about situations like this. Nothing is scary enough on its own. It's only terrifying in hindsight. A few weeks in, I started noticing patterns. Daniel always knew when I was home. Always knew when I was asleep. If I stayed up late, he'd make tea around the same time. If I woke up early, he'd already be in the kitchen. Once, I pretended to leave for work but stayed in my room, silent. 10 minutes later, he knocked. "You forgot your phone," he said. I hadn't. I opened the door slowly. He was holding it. My phone. I don't remember handing it to him. "I found it downstairs," he said. I thanked him and shut the door. That night, I moved my dresser slightly. Just an inch. The next morning, it was back where it had been before. Perfectly aligned. I checked my laptop. The webcam light had turned on at some point during the night. No active programs. No notifications. I covered it with tape. The next day, the tape was gone. That's when I started searching. I waited until Daniel left and inspected the room thoroughly. I checked the vents again. This time, I used my phone flashlight. Something glinted back. Metal. I unscrewed the vent cover. Inside was a small camera. Hidden. Wired. Pointed directly at the bed. My hand started shaking. I checked the smoke detector. Another camera. The outlet near the desk. Another one. All wired into the wall. All hidden professionally. This wasn't a hobby. This was a system. I packed immediately. I didn't confront him. I didn't call the police yet. I just wanted out. As I carried my bag downstairs, Daniel stood in the doorway. "Already waiting?" "Leaving early?" he asked. "I found a better place," I said, forcing calm. He nodded slowly. "That happens." I left. I stayed with a friend for a week before going to the police. They investigated. Found the cameras. Found recording equipment hidden in the basement. But Daniel was gone. No forwarding address. No real name. The house was rented under a shell company. They told me I was lucky. Months later, curiosity got the better of me. I checked Craigslist. Same wording. Different city. Room for rent. Fully furnished. No pets. Month to month. No photos. I recognized the desk in the picture. The same one that had been in my room. That's when it hit me. The furniture wasn't included for convenience. It was included because it was already positioned perfectly. The ad showed up when I was desperate enough not to question it. Cash paid work. Flexible hours. No experience required. Interviews this week only. No company name. No job title. Just a phone number and an email. Normally, I would have skipped it. But I'd been unemployed for almost 2 months, living off savings that were disappearing fast. I needed something, anything, to bridge the gap. I emailed. The reply came less than a minute later. Interview tomorrow. 6 p.m. address attached. No questions. No resume request. No screening. That should have stopped me. The address led to a small office building on the outskirts of town. Not abandoned, just quiet. One of those places where several small businesses rent cheap space and nobody really knows what anyone else does. The door to Suite 214 was already open. Inside was a waiting area. 3 chairs. A desk. No decorations. No branding. A man sat behind the desk, writing something. He didn't look up when I walked in. "Name?" he asked. I told him. He nodded and pointed to a chair. "Sit." "You're early." I wasn't. I sat anyway. A few minutes later, another guy walked in. Then a woman. None of us spoke. After about 10 minutes, the man stood. "Follow me." We went into a back room. No windows. Just a table and 4 chairs. He sat across from us. "This is a screening," he said calmly. "Not an interview." That word stuck with me. Screening. He asked simple questions at first. Work history. Availability. Transportation. Then the questions changed. Do you live alone? Does anyone check in on you regularly? If you didn't show up somewhere, how long would it take for someone to notice? I felt my chest tighten. The woman hesitated. "That's kind of personal," she said. The man smiled politely. "You don't have to answer," he said. "But then you won't move forward." She answered. We all did. He wrote everything down. At the end, he stood. "Only one of you will be contacted," he said. "If you don't hear from us, assume you were not selected." We left without another word. I tried to convince myself it was just a weird employer. The next morning, I got a text. "You've moved forward. Second interview tonight. Same address. Different suite number." This time, I was alone. The room was smaller. A single chair. A camera mounted in the corner. The interviewer was a different man. Older. Quieter. He didn't smile. He asked me to sit. Then he asked me to wait. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. I could hear movement outside the room. Footsteps. Doors opening and closing. I checked my phone. No service. The man returned. He didn't apologize. "Stand up," he said. I did. He walked around me slowly. Too slowly. "Do you scare easily?" he asked. "No," I said automatically. He nodded. "Good." He asked me to describe my daily routine. Where I went. When I slept. Which routes I took. Then he asked me something that made my throat go dry. "Has anyone ever followed you before?" I shook my head. He wrote something down. "That's good," he said. "First-time candidates are easier." I laughed nervously, assuming it was a joke. He didn't react. The interview ended abruptly. "Go home," he said. "If you're selected, you'll be contacted again." That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I heard footsteps outside my apartment door. They stopped. No knock. Just stopped. I didn't move. After a minute, they left. The next day, I got another message. Final stage. Tonight. Don't be late. I didn't go. I told myself I was being paranoid. But something felt deeply wrong. I blocked the number. That evening, there was an envelope taped to my door. No name. Inside was a printed photo. It was me. Taken from across the street. Standing at a bus stop. Time-stamped. From that morning, I went to the police. They took the report. Asked questions. Told me it was probably an illegal hiring scam. They said they'd look into it. Nothing happened. A week later, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. Not following. Just nearby. I started noticing the same car parked on my street. Different positions. Same model. No plates visible from where it parked. One night, curiosity overcame fear. I searched Craigslist. Same ad. Different wording. Paid opportunity. Interviews ongoing. New email. I clicked it. The location was the same building. Different suite. I realized then what the job was. They weren't hiring. They were filtering. Looking for people who were alone. Desperate. Unnoticed. People who would show up willingly. People whose routines could be learned under the excuse of employment. I moved shortly after that. New city. New number. New routines. I never heard from them again. But sometimes, when I check Craigslist out of habit, I see ads that look just a little too vague. And I wonder how many people thought they were going to a job interview and never came back.